Good morning, everybody. This is Donald Leonard with RE/MAX Northwest. This is your Monday morning shot of caffeine with a side of real estate, and I am here in Cypress, Texas, and this morning I am getting my shot of caffeine in a coffee cup that I picked up in one of my favorite places in Denver, Colorado called the Punch Bowl Social. Now, if you're ever in downtown Denver, Colorado, and you need a good place to hang out, that is the perfect place to go. This building used to be a Big Lot store, so if you've ever been in a Big Lot store, you know how big they are, 20,000 square feet plus. Well, they have converted this into an adult game room. And besides being a game room, it's a great restaurant too. But if you want to go bowling, you can do it there. You want to play shuffleboard, you can do that there too. If you really are interested in like old-timey games like Pac-Man, Asteroids, Galaxian, or any of those are all there too. It's a great place to go if you ever get a chance. It's on the corner of Broadway and First, if I remember right. So today, I wanted to talk a little bit about closing costs. You know, closing costs, one of those things that a buyer and a seller usually grossly underestimate when it comes time to thinking about buying a home or selling a home. And if they talk to a realtor, then a realtor will set them straight. But a lot of times until they do that, they have a really warped idea of what they think it's going to cost to buy and sell. But just think about it. You've got all these people. If you looked at a list of all the people who are involved in a real estate transaction, and there's a bunch of them, you'll see that a lot of these people don't even get paid until closing. So a lot of them, like your inspectors, like your surveyors, like your appraisers, they're going to be paid outside of closing. They're going to get paid no matter what happens to the transaction. Whether the transaction closes or not, they're going to get paid. But when it comes to people like real estate agents, closers at title companies, lenders, that if this deal doesn't close, they don't get paid. All the work that they've done ends up for nothing. They're not going to get paid. So, of course, those charges are going to hit at closing. Now, let's think about it here for a minute, just about a buyer thinks, okay, I've got these closing costs, then I know I'm going to have that, and then I'm going to have my down payment, I know I've got that. But one of the things that they really don't think about is the money that they're going to have to pay up front to set up their escrow account. If they're paying their taxes and insurance every month, like most people do, then there's going to have to be some money put up front to kind of prime the pump, make sure that the money is there in that escrow account when it comes time to pay the taxes, pay the insurance, pay the mortgage insurance. When those things need to be paid, there needs to be money in that escrow account. And so they have to put some money in at the very beginning in order to make sure there's enough money for that. So they've got down payment, they've got closing costs, they've got prepaids. All of those things added together can easily run 10% of the sales price of the house. Most buyers do not understand that. They don't know that it's going to take about 8 to 10% of the sales price of the house to get that house closed. Of course, when they fill out their contract, they do have the ability to ask the seller to pay some of it. Seller might be willing to do that and might not. And speaking of the seller, let's talk about what the seller's got as far as closing costs, because there is a really significant charge that they get hit with that they are not thinking about in most cases. They know they've got their closing costs, they know they've got their real estate agent's commission to pay, but what they don't think about is that one of those closing costs is that they have to pay their taxes for the current year. That's right. Taxes, property taxes are paid in arrears. So even if that seller is paying their taxes every month into their escrow account, at closing, they're going to have to pay them again. So that if we close now, like this time of year when it's March, that's not too bad to pay your taxes from January the 1st through the closing date, which is the middle of March. That's not too bad. But think about when it gets to be July or August or September. Now we're talking about 7, 8, 9 months worth of taxes that have to be paid up front. And so for a seller to not think about that or not know about that charge, that's a significant hit, especially with property taxes the way they are in Texas. We know that they're fairly high compared to other states. Of course, we don't have a state income tax, so you take that into account, it's not so bad. But when you're talking about a $10,000 property tax bill for the whole year and you get in 5, 6, 7, 8 months into that, that's going to be another $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 that's going to have to be paid at closing. Sellers don't think about that or don't know about that. So on both sides, it is a significant amount of money. For buyers, they're probably looking at about 4 to 6% of the sales price of the house for closing costs and prepaids plus whatever their down payment is. So like I said before, 8 to 10%, very common. On the seller side, they've got their closing costs plus those taxes that they're going to have to pay, and then they have their real estate commission too. So they're also, in a lot of cases, looking at 8 to 10% of the sales price of the house that they're going to have to pay in closing costs. So as a real estate agent, obviously we can help a buyer and a seller know how much they're going to have to bring to close, or how much is going to be deducted from their proceeds at closing, in order to help them know what they're going to net. For a buyer will find out through something called a loan estimate when they go to apply for their loan. But prior to that, somebody needs to make sure that buyer understands what it's going to cost. It's going to be really bad if the buyer goes ahead and gets under contract, goes and applies for their loan, and suddenly sees, oh, I'm going to need 6 to 8% out of on top of everything else. I don't have that kind of money. So as real estate agents, it's really imperative that we talk to buyers and sellers ahead of time to make sure that they understand how that works. So if you ever have a need to buy or sell, I'd be more than happy to help you. I'm Donald Leonard with RE/MAX Northwest. I work here in Cypress, Texas, also handle the areas of Tomball and Klein and Spring and Katy. More than happy to help you anytime that you need a real estate need. Also, check out my Facebook page at Real Estate by Donald, and you can look at this video or any of the other videos that I've done, and be sure and keep up with that page to see the recent listings that I've taken, and also the new listings I have coming up. In the next 2 or 3 weeks, I've got 2 or 3 really good listings in this area coming up, so be sure and check that out. On Facebook, it's Real Estate by Donald. Well, appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. Have a great week. Enjoy your cup of coffee. Enjoy the rest of your week. And until next week, take care, y'all.